The diplomatic vessel slid into dock at Terminus 7 with a soft hiss. Captain Minho stood at the bridge window, watching the massive station spin slowly against the backdrop of distant stars. He had been to many alien stations before, but this one made him nervous. This one had rules that could kill you. Beside him, Dayon checked her datapad for the 100th time. She was the ship's xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. She had read everything about the species they were meeting today. The Velthani, beautiful, advanced, and absolutely deadly to touch. "Remember the briefing," Jisoo said from behind them. She was the human ambassador, the one who would do most of the talking. No handshakes. No pats on the back. Keep at least 3 feet away at all times. The Velthani secrete toxins through their skin. 1 touch and you're dead in seconds. Minho nodded. He had heard this before. The entire crew had been trained for weeks. Physical contact with Velthani was considered a death sentence. Their skin produced poison as a defense mechanism. It had evolved over millions of years. It made them powerful. It also made them completely alone. The airlock opened with a mechanical groan. Minho led his team into the station. The air smelled different here, full of strange scents from 100 alien worlds. The floor beneath their feet was made of some kind of smooth metal that changed color as they walked. A group of aliens waited in the docking bay. Most of them were species Minho recognized. The tall insect-like Kresh, the floating jellyfish creatures called Voon. And there, standing apart from everyone else, were the Velthani. Minho stopped breathing for a moment. They were stunning. The Velthani looked almost human, but their skin had a faint shimmer to it like oil on water. They wore minimal clothing, probably because fabric irritated their sensitive skin. The one in front, clearly the leader, had silver hair that fell to her shoulders and eyes that seemed to shift between blue and purple. "I am Ritha," the Velthani said. Her voice was melodic but cold. "Welcome to Terminus 7, humans. I hope you understand the gravity of your situation here. This station operates under strict contact laws. Different species have different tolerances. For my people, physical contact with most species results in immediate death for the one who touches us." She paused, letting that sink in. "Touch me without permission and you die. Touch any Velthani and you die. We do not make exceptions. We do not forgive accidents. Am I clear?" Jisoo stepped forward, careful to maintain distance. "We understand completely, Ambassador Ritha. My people have great respect for your customs and your biology. We have no intention of causing any incidents." Ritha's expression didn't change. "Good. Many species have said the same thing. Many species have been wrong. Come. We have prepared a meeting room where we can discuss the trade agreements." The group began walking through the station. Minho stayed near the back, observing everything. The station was enormous, with corridors that stretched in every direction. Aliens of all kinds moved through the halls, but he noticed something interesting. Whenever a Velthani approached, everyone else moved aside. They pressed themselves against the walls, creating a wide path. The Velthani walked alone, always alone, in a bubble of empty space. Dayon noticed it too. She leaned close to Minho and whispered, "They're isolated completely. No one can touch them. No one can get close. Can you imagine living like that?" Minho couldn't. Humans were social creatures. They shook hands, hugged, patted shoulders. Touch was how they connected, how they showed care and friendship. A life without touch seemed like no life at all. The meeting room was large and circular. A round table sat in the center, but the chairs were spaced far apart. The Velthani sat on one side, the humans on the other, with at least 10 feet between them. Screens floated in the air, displaying trade data and star charts. Jisoo began the negotiations. She was good at her job, speaking clearly and respectfully. The Velthani wanted access to human agricultural technology. Earth had become famous across the galaxy for its ability to grow food on nearly any planet. In exchange, the Velthani offered advanced medical knowledge and star navigation systems that were centuries beyond what humans had. Minho listened, but his attention kept drifting to Ritha. She sat perfectly still, her posture rigid. Every few minutes her skin would shimmer slightly, colors rippling across her arms and neck. Dayon had explained this in the briefing. It was a stress response. The toxins were always there, just beneath the surface, waiting. An hour into the meeting, Minho reached across the table for a data tablet that was displaying crop yield information. He didn't see Ritha also reaching for the same tablet. His hand brushed against her forearm, just a whisper of contact. Skin against skin for less than a second. The room went completely silent. Every Velthani in the room stood up, their skin suddenly blazing with bright colors, warning colors. Retha's eyes went wide, her mouth opening in shock. The other aliens in the room, the observers and assistants, all backed toward the walls. Jisoo gasped.
Minho, no!
Minho looked down at his hand, expecting to see something horrible happening. Blisters, burns, his skin melting away. But there was nothing. His hand looked normal. He felt fine, no pain. No numbness. Nothing at all. He looked up at Retha. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... He started to pull back but stumbled slightly. Without thinking, he reached out to steady himself on the table. His hand brushed Retha's arm again. This time he smiled. It was a nervous smile, an apologetic smile. Sorry, he said again. Retha stared at him like he was a ghost. Her skin was still flashing warning colors, but she wasn't moving. She seemed frozen, unable to process what she was seeing. You should be dead, she whispered. You touched me twice. You should be convulsing on the floor. Your nervous system should be shutting down. Your heart should have stopped. Minho looked at his hand again, then at her. I feel fine. I don't feel anything wrong. One of the other Velthani spoke, his voice shaking. Impossible. Our toxins kill on contact. They always kill. Every species, every time. That's why we're untouchable. That's why we're alone. Daeon was already moving, pulling out a medical scanner. She ran it over Minho's hand, over his whole body. Her eyes went wide as she read the results. His vitals are normal, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. No toxins in his bloodstream. No cellular damage. It's like nothing happened. Retha slowly sat back down. Her skin was returning to its normal shimmer, the warning colors fading. She looked at Minho with an expression he couldn't quite read. Fear? Curiosity? Hope? We need to understand this, she said quietly. If what just happened is real, if you truly survived contact with me, then everything we know is wrong. Everything we are might be wrong, Jisoo found her voice. We should get Minho to medical immediately. Run every test we can, figure out what's happening. But Minho was still looking at Retha. He saw something in her eyes that broke his heart. Loneliness. Deep, ancient loneliness. For her entire life, probably for thousands of years of her species' history. The Velthani had been untouchable. They had been powerful and feared, but completely alone. I'm willing to help however I can, Minho said. If there's a chance to understand this, we should take it. Retha nodded slowly. Yes, we will study this carefully. Because if humans can touch us and survive, Captain Minho, then the galaxy just changed forever. She stood up, and this time she didn't move away. She stayed close, looking at him with those shifting eyes. But understand this, she said softly. This immunity, if that's what it is, makes you the most dangerous people in the galaxy. Or the most valuable. Either way, you have just become a target for every power that wants to control us or destroy us. Minho swallowed hard. He had just been trying to reach for a data tablet. Now apparently he had just changed everything. Daeon's hands shook as she ran the medical scanner over Minho's body for the 5th time. The results were the same every time. No poison, no toxins, no cellular damage. It was impossible, but it was also absolutely real. Strip down to your waist, she ordered. I need to examine the contact points under the microscope. They were in the human medical bay on their ship. Jisoo stood against the wall, watching with worried eyes. Hyunwoo, their security officer, guarded the door. No one was getting in without permission. Outside, the news of what happened was already spreading through the station like wildfire. Minho sat still while Daeon examined his forearm where he had touched Retha. She took skin samples, blood samples, sweat samples. Everything went under analysis. The ship's computer worked through millions of calculations trying to find an answer. There has to be something, Daeon muttered. Some reason why you didn't die. Something in your biology, your chemistry, something. Hyunwoo spoke from the door. The station is going crazy. I've been monitoring communications. Every species is talking about this. Half of them think it's a trick. The other half think we're some kind of threat. Jisoo rubbed her temples. Of course they do. The Velthani have been untouchable for their entire recorded history. 10,000 years. They've been the most feared species in this sector because one touch means death. Now suddenly humans can touch them. That changes the entire power balance. I didn't ask for this, Minho said quietly. I just reached for a tablet. I know, Jisoo said. But what you asked for doesn't matter now. What matters is what happens next, the door chimed. Hyunwoo checked the monitor, then looked at Jisoo. It's Retha, she's alone. She wants to come in. Jisoo hesitated, then nodded. Let her in. The door slid open. Retha stepped inside and Hyunwoo immediately moved to block her path. She stopped, raising her hands in a gesture of peace. I mean no harm, she said. I want to understand what happened. I need to understand. Daeon looked up from her work. You want to run tests? On both of you? Yes. Retha moved closer to Minho, but carefully, as if approaching something dangerous. In my entire life, I have never touched another living being without killing them. My parents could not hold me when I was born. My siblings and I grew up in separate rooms. I have never felt another person's hand. Never felt an embrace. Never known what it means to have physical contact that doesn't end in death. Her voice cracked slightly. If what happened today is real, if humans truly have some immunity to our toxins, then I need to know. Because that means my people have been alone for no reason. That means everything we built our society on might be a lie. Minho met her eyes. I'm willing to try, carefully. Over the next 3 hours, they ran every test Daeon could think of. She had Minho and Retha sit across from each other. First, just close proximity. No reaction. Then Minho touched Retha's hand with one finger for 1 second. No reaction. Then 5 seconds. 10 seconds. A full handshake. Nothing. Retha's skin shimmered with colors, but not warning colors this time. Something else. Wonder maybe, or fear. Her hand trembled in Minho's grip. I can feel your warmth, she whispered. Your pulse. You're real. You're alive, and I'm not killing you. Daeon took readings constantly. Your toxin levels are actually increasing, she told Retha. Your body is reacting to the contact, producing more poison. But it's not affecting him at all. She pulled up a display showing the chemical analysis. Look at this. Human sweat contains specific proteins and has a particular pH level. When your toxins come in contact with human skin, they're being neutralized, not by our immune system, but by our skin chemistry itself. It's like mixing an acid and a base. They cancel each other out. Retha stared at the display. How is this possible? How did evolution create this by accident? Maybe it wasn't an accident, Jisoo said thoughtfully. Or maybe it's just incredible luck. Either way, it's real. Hyunwoo's communicator beeped. He checked it and his face went dark. We have a problem. A big one. I'm picking up chatter from some of the other species on the station. Betting chatter. Betting on what? Minho asked. On whether you'll survive the week. Apparently, touch-related accidents are a common way to eliminate rivals in galactic politics. And right now you're the most interesting target in the galaxy. Jisoo cursed under her breath. How much time do we have? Not much. I'd say we have maybe a day before someone tries something. Maybe less. Retha stood up abruptly. You need to leave the station. Now go back to Earth. This information needs to be protected. We can't run, Jisoo said. If we run, it looks like we're hiding something. Like we're afraid. That makes us look weak. But if you stay, you're targets. Then we make ourselves harder targets, Hyunwoo said. We increase security. We move to a more defensible position on the station. And we control who knows what. Daeon was still staring at her screens. It's too late for that. I've been monitoring the station's data networks. Someone already hacked our medical systems. They have all the test results. They know everything we know. The room went silent. Minho felt his stomach drop. Who? I don't know. The hack was professional. Could be any of a dozen species. Could be multiple groups working together. Retha's skin flashed bright red, actual anger this time. The Krall, it has to be. They're the ones who benefit most from keeping my people isolated. For centuries, they've used us as weapons. They send Velthani into battle zones, into negotiations, into any situation where they need a threat. Because everyone knows that touching us means death. We're walking deterrents. She turned to face them fully. But if humans can touch us safely, if other species learn this immunity can be replicated or studied, then the Krall lose their most powerful tool. They lose us, and they will do anything to prevent that. Jisoo pulled up a star chart. The Krall Dominion controls 60 star systems. They have the third largest fleet in the galaxy. If they decide we're a threat, then Earth is in danger, Minho finished. Because of me. Because I touched you. No, Retha said firmly. Because the truth is out. Because after 10,000 years of isolation, my people might finally have a chance to be free, to touch and be touched, to live like other species live. The crawl won't allow that. But it's not your fault, Captain. It's theirs. Hyunwoo was already working on his communicator. I'm sending an encrypted message to Earth Command. They need to know what's happening. They need to prepare. They need more than preparation, Diane said. They need data, all of it. Every test result, every scan, everything we've learned. If something happens to us, Earth needs to know why humans have this immunity. She started copying files to encrypted data chips. I'm also sending the research to other human colonies. Redundancy. If the Crawl come after us, they can't destroy all the information. Retha watched them work, and something changed in her expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. You move quickly when threatened. You prepare. You think ahead. These are good traits. We've had to learn them, Jisoo said. Humans are new to the galaxy. Only 100 years since we left Earth. We're small, we're weak compared to most of you. But we're stubborn, and we survive. I see that. Retha moved toward the door, then stopped. She looked back at Minho. May I try something? What? I want to touch you again. Not for science, just to feel it, to know it's real. Minho stood up and walked over to her. He held out his hand. She looked at it for a long moment, then slowly placed her palm against his. Her skin was cooler than he expected, smooth and strange. She closed her eyes. In my language, she said softly, we have 40 words for isolation, 40 different ways to describe being alone, but we have no word for this feeling. Warmth without death, connection without fear. You've given me something I never thought I could have. She opened her eyes and they were wet with tears. Whatever happens next, Captain Minho, thank you for that moment. Then she pulled away and left quickly before anyone could see her cry. Hyunwoo locked the door behind her. We need a plan, a real one. Because she's right. The Crawl will come. Others will come. Everyone who wants to control the Velthani or destroy them will come. And we're in the middle of it. Jisoo straightened her shoulders. Then we do what humans do best. We adapt, we make allies, and we find a way to turn this disaster into an opportunity. She looked at each of them. We're going to need help. Velthani help. Because if we're going to survive this, if Earth is going to survive this, we need the Velthani to choose a side. Our side. Minho touched his arm where Retha had gripped him. He could still feel the coolness of her skin, the slight tremor in her hand. She had been terrified and hopeful at the same time. She will, he said quietly. Retha will help us. I'm sure of it. How can you be sure? Because for the first time in her life, she's not alone. And neither are her people. They're going to fight to keep that. 3 days passed. 3 days of tests, meetings, and growing tension. Retha came to the human medical bay every morning. Each day she and Minho tried something new. Each day the impossible remained true. On the 4th day, Retha agreed to a full embrace. Daeon watched nervously as Minho and Retha stood facing each other in the center of the medical bay. Sensors covered every surface, recording everything. Other Velthani watched through a video link, their faces showing a mixture of hope and horror. Are you ready? Minho asked. Retha nodded. Her skin shimmered with nervous colors. I've never done this before. I don't know how. Just step forward. Put your arms around me. I'll do the same. She moved slowly as if approaching fire. Her arms came up, hesitant and awkward. Then she was against him, her cool skin pressing against his warmth, her head against his shoulder. Minho wrapped his arms around her back. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Retha made a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. Her whole body shook. I'm alive, she whispered. I'm touching you and I'm alive and you're alive and this is real. She pulled back enough to look at his face. Tears ran down her cheeks. Do you understand what this means? For 10,000 years, my people have been alone. We couldn't hold our children. We couldn't comfort our dying. We couldn't celebrate with touch or grieve with embrace. We built entire philosophies about strength through isolation, about power through distance. We told ourselves we were better this way, superior, but we were just afraid and alone. Minho felt his own throat tighten. And now? Now everything changes. If humans can touch us, maybe others can too. Maybe we can find a cure, a treatment. Maybe we can finally live. Dayan cleared her throat. The readings are stable. No toxin absorption. No negative effects on either of you. This is incredible. One of the Velthani on the video screen spoke up. His name was Kiros, one of their leading scientists. We need to understand the mechanism. Can this immunity be replicated? Can we synthesize whatever compound in human biology neutralizes our toxins? That's what we're working on, Dayon said. But it's complex. It's not just one thing. It's a combination of skin pH, specific proteins in human sweat, and possibly something in our immune response. Replicating it will take time. Years, maybe. Years, Kiros repeated. He looked devastated. We've waited 10,000 years. What's a few more? But Retha shook her head, still standing close to Minho. No, we can't wait years. Not now that we know it's possible. Not now that we've felt what we've been missing. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the station, Subin was making friends. She was young for a ship's engineer, barely 25, with quick hands and a quicker mind. She had been sent to check the docking clamps on their vessel when she met a group of Velthani engineers doing the same work. They were awkward at first. The Velthani kept their distance, as always. But Subin was curious and friendly, asking questions about their technology, showing genuine interest. Eventually, one of them, a female named Lysa, started answering. Your ship is old, Lysa said, but well-maintained. You care for your equipment, Subin grinned. Ships are like people. Treat them well, they'll take care of you. Treat them badly, they'll break down when you need them most. An interesting philosophy. Lysa moved closer, studying a panel. May I ask you something personal? Sure. Is it true? Can humans really touch us without dying? Subin nodded. Yeah, Captain Minho has been hugging Ambassador Retha every day. No problems. It's kind of amazing, actually. Lysa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said very softly, I have a daughter. She's 5 years old. I've never held her, never touched her skin. We communicate through screens and from across rooms. She asked me once why I didn't love her enough to hold her like other species hold their children. Subin felt her heart break. That's horrible. That's reality. For all of us. My grandmother died last year. I stood 3 meters away and watched her fade. I couldn't comfort her. Couldn't hold her hand. She died alone as all Velthani die alone. As all Velthani live alone. She turned to look at Subin directly. If there's any chance at all that we could change this, we would do anything. Give anything. Do you understand? I do, Subin said. And we want to help, really, but it's complicated. Everything worthwhile is complicated. They worked in silence for a while. Then Lisa asked, what does it feel like? Touch, physical contact. I've read descriptions, but I want to hear it from someone who experiences it. Subin thought about it. It's connection. When someone touches you, you know you're not alone. A hug can make you feel safe. Holding hands can give you courage. Even just a pat on the shoulder can say, I'm here, I see you, you matter. It's how we show care without words. We have no word for that in our language, Lysa said. We have words for proximity, for nearness, but not for that kind of connection. It doesn't exist for us. Maybe it will, Subin said. Maybe soon. But other forces were already moving. In the dark corners of the station, in encrypted communications across the galaxy, plans were being made. The Kral Dominion saw the threat clearly. If the Velthani gained the ability to touch and be touched, they would no longer need Kral protection. They would no longer be weapons. They would be free. The Kral couldn't allow that. They sent their best operative. His name was Tyjan, and he was human. He had been born on Earth but raised in Kral space, shaped by their culture, loyal to their cause. He believed humans were too weak, too sentimental. The Kral offered order, strength, purpose. He served them gladly. Tyjan arrived on Terminus 7 posing as a member of a human relief crew. His credentials were perfect. His cover story was solid. He passed every security check because he was human. And humans were still new enough to the galaxy that their criminal databases were incomplete. He had 3 objectives. Eliminate the human diplomatic team, destroy all research data about the immunity, and make it look like an accident. The Kral wanted this problem to disappear quietly. It took him 2 days to map out the human ship's systems, another day to acquire the materials he needed. Then, on the 7th day after Minho's first touch with Retha, Tyjan struck. He infiltrated the environmental systems of the human ship while the crew slept. A colorless, odorless gas began pumping through the ventilation. Not enough to kill immediately, but enough to weaken, to sicken, to slowly shut down their respiratory systems. Minho woke first, gasping. His chest felt tight, his vision blurred. He tried to call out but could barely whisper. Across the ship, Jisu collapsed in her quarters. Hyunwoo made it to the door before falling. Only Diane survived, and only because she had fallen asleep in the Velthani research lab, going over data with Kairos. When the emergency alarms went off, she ran back to the ship. No, 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 she gasped, seeing Minho collapsed just inside the airlock. She tried to drag him out, but he was too heavy. She wasn't strong enough. Help, she screamed. Someone help. Retha was there in seconds with Lisa and two other Velthani close behind. They stopped at the airlock, staring at the unconscious humans. The air is contaminated, Lisa said, reading her scanner. Some kind of nerve agent. If we go in there, we'll die too. Retha's face went hard. She started stripping off the light robe she wore. Then I'll die. But I won't leave them. Retha, you can't. Watch me. She stepped into the contaminated ship. The air burned her skin immediately. Her vision swam, but she grabbed Minho by the arms and dragged him toward the airlock. Step by step, fighting her body's desperate attempts to produce more toxins to defend itself, she pulled him to safety. Lisa grabbed Minho and pulled him clear. Retha stumbled back in for Jisoo, then Hyunwoo. Each time, the poison air got worse. Each time, her body screamed at her to stop. But she kept going. When the last human was safe, Retha collapsed. Her skin was covered in burns from her own toxins, produced in panic and overload. Dion and Lisa worked frantically to stabilize everyone. Why? Lisa asked her friend. Why risk yourself? Retha, barely conscious, smiled. Because that's what you do for people you care about. That's what Touch taught me. Connection means responsibility. If they had died alone in there while I stood outside and watched, I would have learned nothing. I would still be the same afraid, isolated creature I was a week ago. She closed her eyes. I won't go back to that. None of us should. Medical teams arrived. The humans were rushed to intensive care. The Velthani healers worked on Retha, and in the chaos no one noticed Taejin watching from a balcony above, his face twisted in anger. His mission had failed. The humans were alive. And worse, the Velthani had chosen to save them. The alliance he was sent to prevent was already forming. He sent an encrypted message back to his Kral handlers. First attempt failed. They're bonding faster than predicted. Need new orders. The response came quickly. Destroy the research data, by any means necessary. If the immunity spreads, the Velthani are lost to us. Taejin smiled coldly. He had a backup plan. A better plan. One that would work. He just needed to move fast. Minho woke up 3 days later in a medical pod. His throat was raw, his chest ached, but he was alive. Through the transparent cover, he could see Daeon sitting beside him, asleep in her chair. Dark circles ringed her eyes. He tapped weakly on the pod. She jerked awake, saw him looking at her, and burst into tears. You're awake, she sobbed. Thank God you're awake. The pod opened with a hiss. Minho sat up slowly, every muscle protesting. The others? Jisoo, Hyunwoo? Alive, recovering. We all nearly died. If Retha hadn't... Daeon's voice broke. She ran into the contaminated ship. She pulled you out. All of you. She nearly killed herself doing it. Where is she? In the Velthani medical wing. She's stable now, but Minho. Her own toxins burned her from the inside out. She was in agony and she kept going back. 4 times she went in. 4 times. Minho swung his legs over the side of the pod. I need to see her. You need to rest. No. I need to see her now. Daeon knew that tone. She helped him stand, let him lean on her shoulder. Together they made their way through the station to the Velthani medical facility. The corridors were busier than before. Security had tripled. Armed guards stood at every junction. What happened? Minho asked. Why so much security? Because it wasn't an accident, Daeon said grimly. The contamination was deliberate. Someone tried to kill us. Hyunwoo's been investigating from his hospital bed. He found evidence of tampering with our environmental systems. Who? We don't know yet. But he has suspects. Other humans on the station, people who arrived recently. He thinks someone's being paid to stop us. They reached the Velthani medical wing. Kiros met them at the entrance, his expression grave. Captain Minho, I'm glad you survived. Retha will be pleased. Can I see her? She's resting, but yes. She asked for you specifically when she woke. This way. He led them through clean white corridors to a private room. Retha lay on a medical bed, her skin still showing faint burns and discoloration. But she smiled when she saw Minho. You look terrible, she said. You look worse, he replied, and she laughed, then winced in pain. Don't make me laugh. It hurts. Minho sat carefully beside her bed. Thank you. For what you did, Dayon told me. You saved us. It was logical. You are more valuable alive than dead. The research needs to continue. That's not why you did it. Retha met his eyes. No, it's not. I did it because in the past week, you've shown me something I never had before. Friendship, connection. The idea that someone might care whether I live or die, not because of what I can do or what I represent, but just because I matter to them as a person. I couldn't let you die after giving me that. She reached out and he took her hand carefully. Her skin was still healing, sensitive, but she didn't pull away. Someone tried to kill you, she said. Someone on this station. Someone who wants to stop what we're learning. The Crawl are my first suspicion, but it could be others. Many species benefit from keeping the Velthani isolated and controllable. Hyunwoo's investigating, Minho said. He'll find them. But even as he spoke, Hyunwoo was tracking down his suspect. The security footage had been corrupted, but not perfectly. He had caught glimpses of a figure moving through the maintenance corridors near the human ship. A human figure. Show me the roster of all humans who arrived on this station in the past 2 weeks. Hyunwoo ordered the station's security AI. The list appeared. 12 names. He started running background checks, digging into histories looking for inconsistencies. Most of them checked out clean. But one caught his attention. Taejin. Arrived 6 days ago. Credentials said he was part of a relief crew. But when Hyunwoo dug deeper, he found gaps. Missing years in his work history. Connections to Kral-controlled stations. And his biometrics showed military training that didn't match his supposed civilian background. Got you, Hyunwoo muttered. He sent an alert to station security and started tracking Taejin's current location. The man was in the cargo district, level 3. Hyunwoo grabbed his sidearm and headed that way, moving fast despite his still healing body. The cargo district was a maze of containers and loading equipment. Perfect place for an ambush. Hyunwoo moved carefully, weapon ready, checking corners. I know you're here, Taejin, he called out. Station security has your face. You can't leave. Give yourself up. A laugh echoed from somewhere ahead. You think I want to leave? I'm exactly where I need to be. Taejin stepped out from behind a cargo container. He looked younger than Hyunwoo, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a cold smile. He held no visible weapon, but Hyunwoo didn't trust that. Why? Hyunwoo asked. Why try to kill your own people? My people? Taejin's smile widened. Humans are weak, sentimental. You make friends with every species you meet looking for connection and understanding. It makes you vulnerable. The Kral understand strength. They understand order. They're building an empire that will last 1,000,000 years. Humans could be part of that. But not if you keep making these foolish alliances. The Veltani aren't weapons for the Kral to use. That's exactly what they are. For centuries it's worked perfectly, but you had to ruin it. You had to discover this immunity. Now the Kral's most powerful deterrent might become useless. Do you understand what that costs? I understand you're a traitor. Taejin moved fast, faster than Hyunwoo expected. He closed the distance between them in seconds, knocking the gun from Hyunwoo's hand. They fought hand-to-hand, brutal and efficient. Taejin had been trained by Kral combat specialists, but Hyunwoo had been trained by Earth's best, and he was fighting for something more than ideology. He was fighting for his friends. The fight moved through the cargo bay, both men taking and giving hits. Taejin got Hyunwoo in a chokehold, squeezing. Nothing personal. Just business. When you're dead, I'll destroy the research data. The Kral will reward me well. Hyunwoo couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His vision started to darken. Then he heard running footsteps, and suddenly the pressure released. He fell to the floor, gasping. When his vision cleared, he saw Subin standing over Taejin's unconscious body, holding a heavy wrench. The young engineer looked shocked at what she'd done. I was doing maintenance, she said, voice shaking. I heard fighting. I just swung. Hyunwoo got to his feet painfully. Good timing. Thank you. He cuffed Taejin with restraints from his belt. We need to get him to station security. But first we need to check on the research data. He said he was going to destroy it. They ran to the research lab, Subin leading the way. She was faster, younger, and hadn't just been in a fight. When they arrived, they found Kiros and Dayan frantically working at terminals. Someone's trying to hack the system, Dayan said without looking up. They're trying to delete all our research. I'm fighting them, but they're good. Can you save it? Hyunwoo asked. I'm trying. I've been copying files to external drives, sending them to Earth to other colonies. But if they get through my firewalls, they could corrupt everything. Subin slid into a chair beside her. I can help. I'm pretty good with systems. Together they worked to save the data while the hacking attempt continued. It was like a digital war. Thrust and parry, attack and defense. Whoever was on the other end knew what they were doing. There's more than one of them, Subin said. I'm seeing multiple access points. This is coordinated. Hyunwoo grabbed a communicator. Station security. This is Security Officer Hyunwoo of the human delegation. We're under cyber attack. We need to lock down all external network access to the research lab immediately. There was a pause, then a response. Confirmed. Shutting down external access now. The attack stopped suddenly. Daeon and Subin kept working, making sure all the data was secure. Finally, Daeon sat back exhausted. We got it. Everything's saved. Multiple copies in multiple locations. Even if they come back, they can't destroy it all. Hyunwoo allowed himself a moment of relief. Good work. Both of you. But Subin was frowning at her screen. Wait, look at this. The hack attempts were coming from crawl space, but they were routing through other systems, like they were trying to hide their origin. But I can trace it. Give me a minute. She worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. Then her face went pale. Oh no, what? The coordination hub for the attacks. It's broadcasting from a ship. A crawl warship. And it's not alone. She pulled up a sensor display. There's a whole fleet. 30 ships. They're 1 light year away. They'll be here in 6 hours. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. They're coming to finish what Taejin started. Kiro stood up. We need to evacuate. Everyone needs to leave the station, now. Where will we go? Daeon asked. That fleet can outrun anything we have. They'll catch us before we reach safe space. Then we don't run, Hyunwoo said. We make a stand. Here, we have 6 hours to prepare. Prepare with what? We're a research station, not a military base. Then we get creative. Hyunwoo looked at each of them. Taejin said the Krall see the Vilthani as weapons. Maybe it's time to show them what real weapons look like. Humans and Vilthani working together. Subin's eyes widened. You mean actually fight them? I mean defend ourselves. There's a difference. He activated the station-wide communicator. This is Security Officer Hyunwoo. We have a situation. A Krall fleet is approaching with hostile intent. I'm requesting volunteers. Human, Vilthani, any species willing to help. We have 6 hours to turn this station into a fortress. Who's with me? For a moment there was silence. Then Ritha's voice came through, weak but determined. News of the approaching Krall fleet spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major species knew what was happening. A human diplomatic team had discovered immunity to Vilthani toxins, and now the Krall Dominion was responding with military force. The reactions were mixed. Some species celebrated, seeing this as an opportunity to break the Krall's power. Others were terrified, worried the conflict would spread. Many simply watched and waited to see who would win. On Earth, the news reached the government in the middle of the night. Emergency meetings were called. The president demanded answers, plans, options, but Earth was far away, too far to send help in time. Terminus 7 would have to survive on its own. In the Vilthani home system, chaos erupted. The High Council met in emergency session. Some members demanded the humans be expelled, blamed for bringing this crisis upon them. Others argued this was exactly why they needed human allies. Ritha, still recovering from her injuries, participated through a video link. Her voice was weak, but her words were strong. For 10,000 years we have been tools of the Krall. They used our isolation, our fear of contact, our deadly touch to make us weapons. They sent us into conflicts we didn't choose, into battles that weren't ours. And we went because we believed we had no other choice, because we believed we were alone. She paused, letting that sink in. But we're not alone anymore. In 1 week, humans have shown us more genuine care, more true alliance than the Krall have shown in centuries. When I was injured saving them, they risked everything to save me in return. That's what real allies do. That's what real connection means. One of the older council members, Vanis, spoke up. His voice was cold. And where has this connection gotten us? A Krall fleet approaching. War on our doorstep. All because of this human immunity. Maybe we should give the Krall what they want. Hand over the research, the humans, everything. Make peace before more Vilthani die. That's not peace, Ritha said. That's surrender. That's choosing to remain slaves, and we are not slaves. Aren't we? When we can't choose our own path, when our biology is used to serve someone else's empire, when we're too afraid to reach out to other species because the Kral might disapprove? She leaned forward. The humans gave us a gift. Not just immunity, but hope. Hope that we can change. Hope that we can be more than living weapons. Are we really going to throw that away because we're afraid? The council chamber erupted in argument. Some supported Retha, others condemned her. The debate raged for hours while the Kral fleet drew closer. Finally, the council leader, an ancient Velthani named Korin, called for silence. We will vote. Those in favor of supporting the humans and defending Terminus 7, raise your hands. It was close, very close. But in the end, the progressives won by 3 votes. So be it, Korin said. We will send ships. We will stand with the humans. May our ancestors forgive us if this choice leads to war. Back on Terminus 7, preparations continued frantically. Hyunwoo had taken command of the defense, coordinating between species who had never worked together before. Humans, Velthani, and volunteers from a dozen other races worked side by side. Minho, against medical advice, had checked himself out of the hospital. He moved through the station, helping where he could, offering encouragement. When he found Retha doing the same thing despite her injuries, they shared a tired smile. We're both terrible patients, he said. Maybe that's why we understand each other. She looked around at the organized chaos. Do you really think we can survive this? I think we have to try. Running isn't an option. The Kral will hunt us down. At least here we have a chance to make a stand. Jisoo had recovered enough to resume her duties as ambassador. She stood in the station's communication center, preparing for what might be the most important speech of her life. Diane helped her set up the broadcast equipment. You're going to reach every major species in the galaxy, Diane said. Billions of people will be watching. No pressure. Jisoo managed a weak laugh. Thanks for that. When everything was ready, she took a deep breath and began. My name is Ambassador Jisoo of Earth. By now you've all heard what happened here. Humans discovered we have immunity to Velthani toxins. The Kral Dominion is responding with force. They want to destroy us and bury this discovery. She paused. But this isn't just about us. This is about freedom, about whether species can choose their own allies, their own paths. The Kral have used the Velthani as weapons for centuries. Now that we've found a way to help the Velthani connect with others, the Kral want to eliminate that possibility. Because connection threatens control. Images appeared on the screen behind her. Minho and Retha embracing, Velthani and humans working together. Scientists from both species sharing data. Look at these images, Jisoo continued. This is what the Kral fear. Not weapons. Not fleets. They fear this. 2 species learning to trust each other, learning to work together, breaking down barriers that have existed for thousands of years. Her voice grew stronger. We could synthesize the immunity. We could share it with other species. We could help the Velthani finally touch their own families again. Think about that. Think about a species that hasn't been able to hold their children for 10,000 years. Finally having that chance. The Kral want to destroy that possibility. Do we let them? She looked directly into the camera. I'm not asking for military support, though we would welcome it. I'm asking you to witness what happens here. Watch, remember, and ask yourselves what kind of galaxy you want to live in. One where fear and isolation are enforced by military might, or one where connection and cooperation are possible? The broadcast ended. For a moment, there was silence in the communication center. Then Diane hugged Jisoo tightly. That was perfect. I hope it was enough. Across the galaxy, the speech was replayed and debated. Some species dismissed it as naive. Others were moved. On dozens of worlds, protests erupted demanding their governments take action. Young people especially responded to Jisoo's message, seeing it as a call for a better future. On the Kral flagship, the admiral in charge of the fleet watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. Clever. She's trying to turn this into a moral issue, make us look like oppressors. His second-in-command nodded. It's working too. Our intelligence reports show public opinion shifting against us in several key systems. Doesn't matter. By the time public opinion fully turns, Terminus 7 will be destroyed and the research will be gone. We proceed as planned. But something unexpected happened. Ships started arriving at Terminus 7. Not military ships, but civilian vessels. Transports, cargo haulers, even tourist ships. They came from 100 different worlds. Thousands of ships all taking up positions around the station. When asked why they came, their crews gave simple answers. We wanted to witness. We wanted to show support. We wanted to stand with those who choose connection over isolation. The Kral fleet arrived to find Terminus 7 surrounded by a ring of civilian ships, not weapons platforms, not warships, just ordinary people from across the galaxy who had decided to make a statement. The Kral admiral was furious. Move them out of the way. Tell them to disperse or be destroyed. But his weapons officer hesitated. Sir, there are tens of thousands of civilians out there, from dozens of species. If we fire on them, we'll be starting a war with half the galaxy. Our orders are clear. Destroy Terminus 7. But sir, I said our orders are clear. On Terminus 7, Hyunwoo watched the standoff develop on his screens. They're not going to back down. The Kral don't care about civilians. They'll fire through them if they have to. Retha stood beside him. Then we need to give them a reason not to. We need to show them something they can't destroy with weapons. Like what? She thought for a moment, then smiled. Like this. She activated the station-wide broadcast and sent it to every ship in the system, Kral included. Then she and Minho walked to the center of the main plaza. Thousands of people, human and Velthani and dozens of other species gathered to watch. My name is Retha, she said, her voice carrying through every speaker. I am Velthani. For my entire life I have been untouchable. My people have been isolated, feared, used as weapons because our touch means death. Today I want to show you something different. She turned to Minho. Captain Minho, will you dance with me? He blinked in surprise, then understood. Music started playing, something soft and human. He took her hand, placed his other hand on her waist. They moved together slowly at first, then with growing confidence. Around them, other Velthani and humans began to pair up. Dancing, embracing, holding hands. Simple acts of connection that would have been impossible a week ago. Deadly a week ago. Now they were possible and they were beautiful. The broadcast went out to every ship. Billions watched as two species that should have been separated by biology found a way to connect. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't violent. It was just people dancing, choosing connection over fear. On the Kral flagship, the admiral stared at the screen. His weapons officer spoke quietly. Sir, if we destroy them now, while this is being broadcast across the galaxy, we'll never recover our reputation. They're not threatening us. They're just dancing. The admiral's hand hovered over the fire command, but he didn't press it. He couldn't. Because destroying the celebration lasted 3 days, ships from across the galaxy remained in orbit around Terminus 7, their crews wanting to be part of this historic moment. Music, dancing, and joy filled the station. Humans and Velthani walked together freely now, their partnership becoming a symbol of hope, but not everyone was celebrating. In the dark reaches of Kral space, the Dominion's leaders met in secret. The admiral who had retreated from Terminus 7 was executed for his failure. A new fleet was assembled, larger and more ruthless, and this time, they would not hesitate. Heron, Earth's intelligence officer stationed on Terminus 7, was the first to detect the problem. She had been monitoring deep space communications, looking for threats. What she found made her blood run cold. We need to call an emergency meeting, she told Minho. Right now. Within an hour, the leadership gathered in a secure conference room. Minho, Jisoo, Retha, Hyunwoo, Daeon, and representatives from the other species on the station. Heron stood at the front, displaying her findings on a holographic screen. The Kral haven't given up, she said without preamble. They're assembling a new fleet. Bigger this time. 60 ships, including their heavy destroyers. And they're not coming just to make threats. Intelligence intercepts show they plan to destroy Terminus 7 completely. Turn it into debris. Kill everyone aboard. The room went silent. Finally, Jisoo spoke. When will they arrive? 4 days. Maybe 5 if we're lucky. Can we evacuate in time? We can get most of the civilians out, yes. But the Kral have positioned patrol ships along the evacuation routes. They'll intercept anyone who runs. They want to make an example of us. Retha stood up, her face grave. Then we make an example of them instead. We fight. Fight with what? Someone asked. This is a research station, not a military fortress. Hyunwoo had been studying the station schematics. Actually, Terminus 7 was built during the border wars 300 years ago. It was a military outpost back then. Most of the weapons systems are deactivated, but they might still be functional, if we can bring them online. That's a big if, Daeon said. 300-year-old systems? They could be corroded, broken, impossible to repair. Or they could save our lives. Hyunwoo looked at Subin. You're our best engineer. Can you do it? Subin swallowed hard. I can try, but I'll need help. A lot of help. You'll have it, he looked around the room. We have 4 days to turn this station into something that can survive an attack. 4 days to train civilians to fight. 4 days to prepare for war. Who's with me? Every hand went up. The work began immediately. Subin and a team of Velthani engineers descended into the lower levels of the station, searching for the old weapons systems. What they found was both encouraging and terrifying. These are serious weapons, Lisa said, staring at the massive plasma cannons. They could take down warships. But look at this. She pointed at the control systems covered in dust and corrosion. 3 centuries of neglect. It's a miracle anything still works. Then we make our own miracle, Subin said. Start cleaning the power conduits. Check every connection. If it's broken, we fix it. If it's missing, we improvise. We have 4 days. They worked around the clock. Human ingenuity combined with Velthani technical knowledge proved to be a powerful combination. Where human engineers saw problems, Velthani scientists saw solutions. Where Velthani hit limitations, humans found creative workarounds. Minho and Retha coordinated the evacuation of non-essential personnel. Families with children were given priority. The elderly and injured went next. But thousands chose to stay, wanting to help defend the station. You don't have to do this, Minho told a group of civilians. No one will think less of you for leaving. An older man from the Voon species spoke up, his voice warbling through his translator. We've watched what you and the Velthani built here. Real cooperation between species. Real friendship. That's worth fighting for. That's worth dying for if necessary. Others nodded in agreement. Minho felt his throat tighten with emotion. Then let's make sure nobody has to die. Let's make sure we all survive this together. Hyunwoo organized the volunteers into defense groups. He couldn't turn civilians into soldiers in 4 days, but he could teach them basics. How to operate the station's internal defenses, how to seal bulkheads during a breach, how to evacuate through emergency tunnels. Jisoo worked on the diplomatic front, sending messages to every friendly species, calling for help. Some promised to send ships. Others offered supplies or intelligence. A few, the more distant or cautious ones, simply wished them luck. On the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. A Velthani military fleet arrived. 12 warships, sleek and deadly. They took up defensive positions around the station. Retha stood beside Minho on the observation deck, watching the ships maneuver. The High Council sent them. Not everyone agreed, but enough did. My people are standing with yours. We're standing together, Minho corrected gently. No more yours and mine. Just us, she smiled and took his hand. This simple gesture, impossible a week ago, now felt natural. Right. By the 4th day, Terminus 7 had transformed. The ancient weapons were online, powered and ready. Defense teams were trained and positioned. Supplies were stockpiled. Everyone knew their role. Now they just had to wait. The Crawl fleet arrived exactly when Heron predicted. 60 ships dropped out of hyperspace, forming a battle formation around the station. The lead ship broadcast a message. Terminus 7, this is Crawl Commander Vekris. You are harboring fugitives and stolen technology. Surrender the humans and all research data immediately or be destroyed. Jisoo responded, her voice calm. Commander Vekris, there are no fugitives here. Only people exercising their right to free association and scientific inquiry. We will not surrender. Then you have chosen death. All ships open fire. The battle began. The Crawl ships launched their first volley, hundreds of missiles and energy beams converging on the station. But Terminus 7's ancient shields flared to life, absorbing the impact. Subin's repairs had worked. The station held. The Velthani warships engaged the Crawl fleet, their weapons cutting through space in brilliant flashes. The battle became chaotic, ships darting and weaving, explosions blooming like deadly flowers. Inside the station, Hyunwoo coordinated the defense. Plasma cannons 1 through 6 target the destroyer on our port side. Fire on my mark. The ancient weapons thundered to life, sending bolts of superheated plasma streaking toward their target. The Crawl destroyer's shields flickered and failed. The ship listed, trailing debris. Direct hit. They're retreating. But there were too many Crawl ships. For every one damaged, 2 more took its position. The station's shields were holding, but they wouldn't last forever. In the engineering section, alarms blared. Subin studied her readouts with growing concern. Shield power at 60%. We're losing emitters faster than we can repair them. Lisa worked beside her, rerouting power from non-essential systems. I'm pulling everything I can. Life support, artificial gravity in the unused sections, even the lights. But it won't be enough. Then we need to be smarter. Subin pulled up a tactical display. The Krall are focusing their fire on our strongest shields. They're trying to overwhelm them. But what if we weakened them deliberately? Made the Krall think they're breaking through, then hit them with everything when they commit. That's insane. If you're wrong, the station gets destroyed. Do you have a better idea? Lisa was quiet for a moment, then smiled. No, let's be insane together. They contacted Hyunwoo with the plan. He hesitated, then agreed. You have one shot at this. Make it count. The station's starboard shield suddenly weakened, showing signs of failure. The Krall ships noticed immediately and concentrated their fire on that section. More and more ships moved to exploit the apparent weakness. Wait for it, Subin whispered, watching the enemy positions. Wait. When 20 Krall ships were clustered together, all firing at the same section of shield, she acted. Now, full power to port weapons. Fire everything! The station's entire arsenal on that side fired simultaneously. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, even the ancient railguns that Subin had managed to restore. The concentrated fire caught the Krall ships completely off guard. Shields overloaded, hulls ruptured. In 10 seconds, half the attacking force was disabled or destroyed. The remaining Krall ships pulled back, reassessing. Their formation was broken. Their confidence was shaken. On the Krall flagship, Commander Vekris stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How are they doing this? That station should have fallen in the first minute. His tactical officer provided the answer. They're fighting together, sir. Humans and Velthani working in perfect coordination. They're compensating for each other's weaknesses, enhancing each other's strengths. We've never seen cooperation like this. Then we'll destroy them both. Vekris turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the Nova Cannon. We're going to crack that station open. The Nova Cannon was the Krall's most powerful weapon. Illegal in most systems, it could shatter small moons. Aimed at Terminus 7, it would kill everyone aboard. Heron detected the weapon powering up. They're going to use their planet killer. Once it fires, our shields won't matter. Minho made a decision. Then we don't let them fire. Retha, do your ships have boarding capabilities? Yes, but it would be suicide. The flagship is too heavily defended. No, 3 months later, Earth looked different through the viewport of Minho's transport. He had left as a simple ship captain. He was returning as something else entirely. A symbol, a hero, a bridge between worlds. Beside him, Dion pressed her face to the window. I never thought I'd be so happy to see clouds and oceans again. Feels like years, doesn't it? Feels like a lifetime. The transport descended through Earth's atmosphere, heading for the landing pad in Seoul. Crowds had gathered, thousands of people wanting to see the team that had changed the galaxy. Minho felt uncomfortable with all the attention. I just reached for a data tablet, he muttered. Jisoo, sitting behind them, laughed and started a revolution. Get used to it, Captain. You're famous now. They landed to enormous cheers. Government officials waited to greet them. Media cameras recorded everything. But Minho barely noticed. He was looking at his family, standing in the front row. His mother was crying. His father looked proud enough to burst. His younger sister waved frantically. He ran to them and they embraced him, all talking at once, asking questions, touching him as if to make sure he was real. It felt good to be home, but part of him knew this wouldn't last long. The galaxy had changed and he had been part of that change. There would be more work ahead. The formal ceremonies lasted 3 days. Awards, speeches, interviews. Minho, Jisoo, and Daeon were treated like heroes. Subin and Hyunwoo, who had arrived a week earlier, were already tired of the attention. On the 4th day, Minho finally escaped to a quiet park on the edge of the city. He sat under a tree enjoying the simple pleasure of grass and wind and sky. Earth's yellow sun felt warmer than the artificial lights of Terminus 7. He heard footsteps behind him. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. You found me, he said. Retha sat down beside him, careful not to touch. Even now, even knowing she was safe with humans, old habits remained. You're not very good at hiding. Your security detail told me where you were. Some security detail. They knew I wasn't a threat. She looked around at the park, at the people walking dogs and children playing. Your world is beautiful, so alive, so full of contact and connection. No wonder your species developed immunity to us. You need touch to survive. Don't your people need it too? We do, we just forgot. We built a whole culture around denial, telling ourselves we were stronger alone, but we were just afraid. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Retha spoke again. The High Council has made a decision. We're opening our borders, inviting other species to visit, to trade, to learn about us, and we're sending ambassadors to other worlds. I've been asked to be the first. To Earth. Minho looked at her in surprise. You're staying? For a while, yes. There's so much to learn here, so much to experience, and she hesitated. I want to learn what it means to be part of a community, to have friends, to touch and be touched without fear. You'll always have friends here, Minho said, starting with me. She smiled and carefully took his hand. I know. News of Retha's ambassadorship spread quickly. Within days, the first Velthani embassy opened in Seoul. It became a symbol of the new relationship between species, a place where humans and Velthani could meet, talk, and work together. Daeon threw herself into research. With Lisa and other Velthani scientists, she worked on synthesizing the immunity compound. It was slow work, incredibly complex, but they were making progress. We're years away from mass production, she told a press conference, but we've successfully created a temporary immunity serum. It lasts about 6 hours and requires rare materials. Still, it's a start. Someday, maybe the Velthani will be able to touch their own families again. The news gave hope to millions of Velthani across the galaxy, parents who hadn't held their children in decades, siblings separated by biology, lovers who had never embraced. All of them now had hope that someday things might change, but not everyone was happy about the changes. The Kral Dominion remained hostile, seeing the human-Velthani alliance as a threat to their power. Other species worried about the implications. If humans could bridge the gap with one isolated species, what else might they change? There were protests, debates, conflicts. Some human groups feared the Velthani, remembered their reputation as dangerous and deadly. Some Velthani traditionalists argued against opening their society, wanting to maintain their old ways. But slowly, steadily, things changed anyway. Schools on Earth began accepting Velthani students. Human children played alongside young Velthani, learning that touch was safe, that friendship was possible across species. Mixed research stations were established throughout human space. Joint businesses formed. Cultural exchanges flourished. 6 months after the siege of Terminus 7, the first human Velthani wedding took place. Not Minho and Retha, though the media loved to speculate about their relationship. Instead, it was Jihoon, the pilot, and Vera, the navigator who had fought beside him during the battle. They stood together in a traditional Korean ceremony, modified to respect Velthani customs. When Jihoon lifted Vera's veil and kissed her, cameras from across the galaxy recorded it. A human and Velthani choosing to bind their lives together, choosing connection over fear. Retha attended the wedding as an honored guest. She stood in the crowd, surrounded by people of different species, all touching, laughing, celebrating together. She felt overwhelmed by it all. Minho found her standing alone on a balcony looking at the city lights. Too much? No, just a lot. 6 months ago, I had never touched another living being. Tonight, I've been hugged by at least 30 people. My brain doesn't quite know how to process it all. You could ask them to stop. I don't want them to stop. I want to get used to it. I want this to become normal. She turned to face him. That's why I came to Earth. To learn how to be part of something larger than myself. To learn what my people forgot. And have you learned it? I'm learning. Slowly. You've been a good teacher. I haven't taught you anything. You taught me the most important thing. That reaching out is worth the risk. That connection is more important than safety. That sometimes you have to brush against someone even when you've been warned it will kill you. Just to prove that the warnings might be wrong, Minho smiled, remembering that first touch on Terminus 7. I smiled and brushed her again, he said softly. The title of our story, that's what the journalists are calling it. It's a good title. It captures the moment everything changed. They stood together watching the city. After a while, Retha spoke again. The Contact Alliance wants to make you their first human representative. Did you hear? I heard. I'm thinking about it. The Contact Alliance was the new organization formed after the siege. Dozens of species working together to break down barriers, promote cooperation, study ways to help isolated species reconnect with the galaxy. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious. But it was necessary. You should accept, Retha said. You're good at this. Bringing people together, making them see past their fears. I'm just a ship captain. No. You're the person who reached out when everyone else pulled back. You're the person who smiled when you should have been terrified. You're the person who changed my life and my people's lives just by being willing to touch. She took his hand again, still marveling at how natural it felt. Accept the position. Help other species the way you helped mine. The galaxy needs more people like you. Minho thought about it. Going back out into space. More negotiations, more conflicts, more challenges, but also more opportunities to make a difference, to help species connect, to change lives. Okay, he said finally. I'll do it. On one condition. What? You come with me. As co-representative. This shouldn't be just humans doing the work. It should be humans and Velthani together, showing everyone what's possible. Retha smiled. I accept. When do we leave? Soon, but not tonight. Tonight we celebrate. They returned to the party together. Inside, music played and people danced. Humans and Velthani moved together freely now. The deadly touch that had separated them for millennia no longer a barrier. Subin was dancing with Lysa, both of them laughing at their awkward steps. Jihoon and Vera held each other close, lost in their own world. Jisoo was deep in conversation with Velthani diplomats planning the future. Minho and Retha joined the dance. She was getting better at it, more comfortable with the closeness, the contact, the warmth of another body near hers. She rested her head on his shoulder as they swayed to the music. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For that second touch. When you smiled and brushed my arm again, even after I warned you that you would die. In that moment, you showed me that some rules are meant to be broken. That fear should never be the reason we stay apart. That connection is worth any risk. You're welcome. Though I should probably admit I was just clumsy. She laughed, actually laughed, and the sound was beautiful. No, you weren't. You were brave. And you changed everything. Around them, the party continued. Two species that should have been separated forever, now choosing to be together. Other species watching, wondering if they too could break down their barriers. A galaxy slowly learning that walls were easier to build than bridges, but bridges were always worth the effort.